And I mean, we're going to see a play out here. Our players are ready to go on the stage, but I think it's a combination of the fact that, because with Giratina, it kind of employs a similar strategy in most games, right? We did see the innovation with the Bonnets in the list that Isaiah Bradner played, but with the Toolbox version specifically, you can pick the right 2 prizes for a given metagame, and Hermione's list especially is absolutely fascinating, for example, just with the amount of different things he has in his toolbox. But not going to be focusing on that now. We have a top 8 game to get on with, and it's going to be Juho against Azul.
Here we go, Juho, Kallama, becoming a household name with the amount of times they're showing up in the later stages of these tournaments. An LAIC champion, EUIC top 8 with the very deck he's choosing to pilot here, the future Iron Hands variant. You can also see a decent number of regional placements, so looking to get a regional win under his belt.
Yes, he is, and Azul, an AIC champion, but a champion. We were talking about an all-star showdown. They're both champions in their own right. A double international champion on Azul's side, as the most recent, or the second most recent international champion on Juho's side. Also, Azul with the world's top 4. I mean, there are very, very few people in the world who can boast a roster as good as that. Maybe Tord, basically.
Basically only him.
Yeah.
And yeah, Azul has 3 times of an invite, because he got it from his world's placement last season, he got it from winning a regional, and purely just by having enough championship points to get him to the World Championship. So he's booked his place not once, not twice, but 3 times.
I mean, can you play 3 times in Worlds? If you get invited 3 times, I don't think that's how it would.
If you could play 3 times the amount of rounds, that would be awesome.
Yeah,
I still probably wouldn't make cut, but having those extra chances would be cool.
I could bubble out of top 8 3 times, I guess.
Yeah, complete the set, why not?
Yeah.
Here we go then, players are getting ready. And this matchup is going to be back and forth. Now that we have headsets on, we can talk about the outs that Juho has within the list. Juho is choosing to play 1 copy of Psychic Energy, were it to trap, well, if Iron Crown ever finds itself trapped in the active position, you can simply start attacking with Iron Crown if you have to. Also, there's 1 copy of Boss's Orders and 1 copy of Prime Catcher. These are the only switching cards in Juho's deck.
Oh, okay, that does make things a little bit more awkward. I guess mainly you're relying on the fact that, you know, the Future Booster Energy Capture does give you that free retreat, but obviously, like we already mentioned, against the Snorlax with the block ability, not very useful.
Yeah, I think some of the big moments are going to be right at the start of this game. Is it going to be a decent lead Pokemon for Juho, and is it going to be a block Snorlax for Azul?
The leads are so important. Now, normally when you have a lead, you think to yourself, it doesn't, as long as I don't start one of my bad starters, I am good to go. But in this specific instance, yeah, as you mentioned, Joe, the lead is very important. Oh, those prizes, though.
That is awkward, certainly for Azul. I noticed that the 1 copy of Forest Seal Stone, and I think it was the Hero's Cape in there as well. That is a real problem for Azul.
And Mimikyu too as well, just denying that blocking option, although I do believe Azul play 2, not just the 1.
Yeah, that might be the case. As we start off our first game here in a best-of-3 set for top 8, we have 75 minutes on the clock. There we go. I was a little bit surprised with that one. But we're getting into it. I doubt we're going to need all that time either, because this should be a fairly rapid back and forth if all things are going Juho's way at the very least.
Yeah,
we started with Miraidon. That's step 1 for winning this first game.
Yeah, great start for Juho. And it feels a bit weird saying, oh, it's going to be a fast one because controller's involved. But like we already said, this is one of the few decks that can actually take 2 prizes off of Snorlax, and if you're doing that over and over, Juho can run away with the game very quickly before Azul can find all the disruption cards.
Yeah, very rarely can Control be beaten by just 3 or 4 attacks, but this is one of the only decks that can do that. So even with a couple of outs within the deck list, Juho can find a way to actually still sculpt 6 prizes pretty rapidly. They've also had a pretty reasonable start. We're going to see that Techno Radar, such an important item card for the future box deck, because you can discard 1 card from hand in order to find 2 future Pokemon. Of course, in this instance, Juho only looking for 1 Pokemon because they want to limit their bench as much as possible.
Yeah, so an attachment onto the bench, Iron Hand GX, and then just a pass going over to Azul, who starts with, oh, it looks like an okay hand. We do see, oh, an Earthen Vessel straight away. Oh, discarding that Chi-Yu.
Yeah, I don't think you can really afford to use Chi-Yu in the opening stages of the game. It's mostly going to be about just stopping and forcing a brick wall with block. You don't actually get too crafty in this matchup. It's really just running Juho out of the 1 copy of Boss's Orders and the 1 copy of Prime Catcher, and then you're crossing your fingers that Snorlax can be effective in this situation. Mimikyu can get into the mix, but of course, the Miraidon that's already in play can damage Mimikyu, so something to bear in mind here.
Yeah, there is a little bit of an awkward one as well in terms of, you know, the way Yuho is going to take multiple prizes because, of course, Ampy very much only does 120 damage, not quite enough to KO a Snorlax, so you need to get a few Iron Crown EX out in order to be able to take those 2 prize knockouts on the Snorlax. But then, of course, if you do that, you are leaving yourself vulnerable to one of those Iron Crown being brought into the active, and then Yuho could be stuck.
It looks like Azul using the Earthen Vessel simply to thin before a Pokegear. Certainly sort of an Erica's Invitation, which you can fire off in the opening, but it's something you really don't want to go for compared to grabbing something like Arven in the opening stages. So this is a big Pokegear here.
Yep, 7 cards. What does Azul find?
Eerie.
Use Silene as well.
Looking for Arven, certainly. This isn't great.
Oh, there's another Erica's.
Oh, this is awkward. There is a Mantine in Azul's hand, but you really don't want to put Mantine into play because that can open up means of getting around block for Yuho here.
Yeah,
the only upside is if Erica hits, sometimes you can force a Pokemon into play.
I mean, trying to get a good look at Yuho's hand here. Is there a basic in there?
I would be surprised because Techno Radar would probably discard a Pokemon if it was in the hand.
Yeah, Yuho will be aware of the Ericas, of course.
Here we go, it's going to be an Ericas. And as expected, no target for Azul. That is a tough break. A big miss from the Pokegear, and then a miss from the Erica's Invitation. No guarantees with this supporter effect, because it looks at your opponent's hand. If there were any basic Pokemon, they can be immediately put into the active position.
Yeah, so and there is no way now that Yuho plays as Io-No. I mean,
there was a second Snorlax at the very least.
Oh, there was, okay. So even so,
missing on a supporter, not getting Rotom. You're sat on a really weak hand as well, so if Yuho can turn on the pressure, this could be massive.
And the top deck for turn, Yuho draws the Arven, which is about as perfect a supporter as you could have drawn in that instance.
Yeah, Arven unlocking a few tools in the deck, but Future Booster Energy Capsule certainly going to be one of those. You can start prodding these Snorlax with your Miraidon, and you're buffing your damage as you go. And as you can tell, Yuho already thumbing the electric generator to the top here to speed up the use of this Iron Hands EX.
And grabbing the Future Booster Energy Capsule, of course, although the retreat effect won't be very useful with the Snorlax in the active, it does also increase the damage of your future Pokemon by 20. This is going to be a key piece for Yuho to put together to start taking these 2 prize knockouts on these Snorlax.
Honestly, the Future Booster Energy Capsule is a silly card. When I saw it
really
printed,
is, yeah.
It's the combination of Muscle Band and Floatstone, which were both insanely powerful tool cards in their time, and it's mashed them into one card. It's one of the best boasts that the Future Box deck has.
Yeah, maybe, were it not for obviously the restriction of it only working on future Pokemon, could be in contention for one of the strongest tool cards ever printed.
Here we go, Electric Generator does hit 1 Lightning Energy for Yuho, so could open up Arm Press to be an attack if Yuho wishes to spend a retreating card, but it is just going to be powering up the Miraidon in this instance, and also attaching a Psychic Energy, the one-of copy, onto this Miraidon to open up the Sparking Strike option as well here.
Yeah, not a bad call either, just doing it straight up 160 damage, which is exactly enough to, well, just 10 over enough to KO a Snorlax.
Yeah, looking very strong, and actually we see Yuho going immediately onto the Miraidon. The peak acceleration can go to the bench, but it can also go straight onto the active, and Yuho trying to pressurize as early as possible with these 2 Pokemon being the only things, and essentially nothing for Azul to target.
Well, in this instance, right, yeah, sure, you going for 2 prize knockouts on the Snorlax is nice, but do you know what's really good as well? Just having 2 attackers so that anything that Yuho puts out can take knockouts on Snorlax, and eventually you just run Azul out of disruption that way too. Oh
yeah, I'm loving this strategy. This is a really good opener for Yuho, there's no doubt about it. Azul is able to Iono and freshen up his hand though, which is absolutely massive here. Can he get any hit point buffing tools to make life a little bit more difficult for Yuho here? Any switch cards or anything like that? I just see a bunch of supporters in the hand. There is a Hisuian Heavy Ball though.
Okay, that's going to be important.
There was Mimikyu, there was Sandshrew. I don't think there's anything that handy.
It's still good to have an idea of exactly what's in the prizes. You can grab that Mimikyu. It's probably going to be the most useful thing in this exact instance. But of course, the Miraidon can just knock it out. Yeah,
even though Iron Hands is a phenomenal attacking threat, if you send the Mimikyu up to sort of block that, then the Iron Hands can retreat. It's an expensive retreat, but Yuho plays so many energy in the deck, 14 Lightning. You actually can afford to retreat an Iron Hands, especially if you're going back into a Miraidon, who can reload 2 straight back onto it.
Also, do you know what else you can do?
Go on.
Attach a Future Booster Energy Capsule.
Well, yeah, but you can. Yeah, you can retreat exactly. That's fine because you're not blocking at that stage. Yeah, I don't think this Mimikyu's coming into the action. Just to be clear.
Because yeah, then you don't even need to discard the 4 energy. But yeah, in this instance, very tough spot for Azul.
Yeah, nothing that great from the Iono. Is essentially just going to have to allow Yuho to take this early tempo.
Yes.
The only good news is that Yuho's drawn into some Pokemon that could be trapped later down the line. So it may be something that Juho has to watch out for.
Yeah, there is.
Not get too carried away here.
I do see what
if
is
you have
that.
any discarding cards, maybe getting rid of some of these basics could be handy.
Yeah, there's a Mew EX and an Iron Crown EX, it looks like.
Yeah. Mew EX isn't the worst Pokemon to be forced into play because it's a decent attacker, but especially with Psychic Energy committed to the Miraidon, the Iron Crowns do get trapped and it's terrible. So that's why we're going to see the discard here from Juho.
Yeah, Professor's Research discarding those two sort of potential vulnerability-inducing basics, drawing a fresh 7 cards. Hopefully not going to see too many new basics off of that. Oh,
that's
2
nice.
Techno Radars.
Yeah, Radars can discard the Pokemon you've just drawn into. You could even Radar to grab another Crown and then discard it with your second Radar.
Yeah, you can, just to really clear them out the deck. And yeah, we were talking right at the start about how you can maybe put down a bunch of Iron Crown and start taking knockouts on Snorlaxes for 2 prizes. But honestly, yeah, thinking about it more, this is just better.
It's looking good.
Yeah.
It's looking, well, I think you can still keep some Iron, as we see, we're not going to see any more Iron Crown come out from the deck here because they still can be useful, so you can push your Ampy very much into higher damage output because the Snorlax will get a little bit buffer with some Bravery Charm and with some Defiance Vest later down the line.
Yeah, but I guess
so keeping the damage buffs back can be handy as well.
Yeah, but I guess it's something you save for later in the game, right? You don't.
100%.
Yeah, so because this is the strategy. You early on, you just start taking these chip damages. You take some prize cards with the Miraidon, and then when you need to speed things up in terms of your prize tempo, put down the Iron Crown, start taking knockouts and win the game.
Yeah, Juho is in a perfect position here. Sparking Strike going to initiate this prize race. Let's see how Azul can react to this. Does pick up a Rotom and has Pokegear here. What would be the best supporter for Azul?
Oh, another Erika's, but of course Juho has just played around that.
It's going to be an Erika's Invitation. You've just, as you said, Freya, you've just seen Juho discarding an Iron Crown from Techno Radar in the first opportunity.
Yeah, there is still an Iron Hand in the hand though, so I guess you could bring that active, and that would be a bit annoying. Yeah.
And Azul is going to buy himself a little bit of breathing room finally with an Iron Hands peeking out there. Obviously, Iron Hands can attack, but it's going to take a while, especially because Electric Generator only attaches to the bench. Yeah, it's all just confirming. Yep, that's a Pokemon I want to put in play.
Yeah, interesting choice there, because there were 2 Techno Radar in hand, but Juho opted to not play the second one to discard the Iron Hands. Why do you think that is?
I think it's just in case you draw into another Iron Crown. I think if you do that, then you have to instantly discard it.
Oh, yeah.
One of those situations. Also, if you've seen if you use one Techno Radar, you're almost advertising to Azul to not use Erika's. But Azul's essentially called that bluff in this instance.
Well, yeah, it makes sense. And I guess having 1 extra Iron Crown down, it's annoying, but maybe not the end of the world. Maybe you can work with that. But like you said, definitely buying Azul some breathing room.
3 cards from Rotom then to end Azul's turn. Possibly the fastest response Juho could do is spending one of these switching cards or gusting cards now to bring Rotom into the mix. That could be a huge play this turn.
Yeah, I can't quite get the KO with either the Iron Crown EX or the Miraidon, but definitely can start to put some hurt in. Maybe you can go for, arm press into Ampy very much for free prizes, but no.
Honestly, sitting on 3 basic energy is amazing. You can just draw an attach and pass and draw an attach and pass and draw an attach and pass. Sure, Azul is happy growing a hand size and is probably re-establishing his board a little bit, but there's not much disruption that Azul can really do now. The highest retreat cost Pokemon's already in play. And all you can really do is fire off Misfortune Sisters, perhaps, and that's why we're seeing Azul go for Arven instead, just to develop his board this turn.
Yeah, there's only 1 Snorlax and the Rotom currently. Rotom really important to find, of course, to find more of those disruption resources, but yeah, I mean, what do you even get with this Arven here? Yeah, I guess some HP buffs. You can get the Bravery Charm, not the Hero Escape, of course. We know that's unfortunately for Azul
in the prize cards, as
prizes.
Is the Forest Hill Stone, so you can't cherry pick much. It's going to be a switch card coming into the hand for Azul here. Just preparing yourself a little bit. But yeah, Snorlax can gain a few hit points here. Maybe you can get yourself into penny range. That's what Azul's trying to do with this Arven, setting up some extra hit points.
Yeah, Bravery Charm going on to the active.
And it's probably just going to be, slamming the instant charge again for Azul.
So I guess going over to Juho's turn, is it just going to be Attach Pass again?
Yeah, I didn't see the draw, but I think Attach Pass is a great play.
It was another energy.
Well, that's even better.
You play a lot of them.
Yeah, like I said, 14 basic lightning energy. Juho with the patient play, which is certainly correct at this stage.
It really does seem like Juho favors the high lightning energy count decks. Maybe it's that the combination of that and Iron Hand means Juho is going to do very well.
Yeah, and as we say, he is an expert. He knows this deck inside and out. As Azul is continuing to use Arven here. We'll grab another Bravery Charm in addition to a Nest Ball. Looking to just establish more basics, perhaps, although is shuffling up, so may not even put another basic Pokemon into play just yet.
Yeah, just keeping that resource handy for next turn in this instance. So feeling pretty content that in this instance, the Snorlax can't be KO'd unless, there's some crazy benching of, a lot of Iron Crown to get there. But actually going to opt to bench the second Snorlax now, had it in the hand. Yeah,
more of the same story, really, for Azul. He's just going to do some quick mental maths about is it better to use a Bravery Charm or a Defiance Vest on his benched Pokemon here.
And actually does Defiance Vest on the Snorlax and Bravery Charm on the Rotom, as that's going to put that to 240 HP, which is definitely going to be a much harder number for Juho to reach.
Yep, and is going to end up on 3 additional cards once again. But this is the turn for Juho. The action is going to kick back off because we can attach a third Lightning Energy here, and we can begin to pressurize these Snorlax.
Yeah, no time wasted. Attach and Arm Press for 160 damage. Oh wait, was that not quite? I saw the gesture forward. I don't know if that was.
Juho's thinking, is there any reason to do anything else here? But I'm content attacking here.
Yep, Arm Press, 160 damage. Going to set up that Snorlax very nicely for a Ampy very much next turn, and Azul needs to find a penny or some way to heal the damage off of this Snorlax.
Yeah, and this is a great thing to do for Juho. Even though you see your opponent frustratingly penny spam you turn by turn by turn, it feels like what you're doing is useless, but it's really not.
No.
It's stopping your opponent from using Erika's Invitation, Eri, Misfortune Sisters, the supporters that you're terrified of. You're denying that by pressurizing constantly, and that's why having this every turn attack strategy is so helpful here.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair enough that Penny is one of the strongest supporters in the deck. I do believe it, Azul is playing the full complement of 4 copies, but like you just said, Joe, you force them to use them over and over and over again. Eventually they'll run out, and then at that point you can start building up the damage, actually start taking prize cards, and Azul is going to be forced into some kind of play to disrupt you and to hope that, that's enough. But then at that point, your attack is already all set up.
Essentially, all Azul is gaining from this is more cards from Instant Charge every turn, and that's about it, because you are depleting your resources. As we're back over to Juho, who now has a 4th energy for Iron Hands, continuing to threaten pretty much everything here. Also has Iono.
Oh.
That's another way you can pressurize Azul. As he grows a large hand size, you can try and hit into a Snorlax, and it is just going to be, the first attack you would imagine here, if you're not going for a KO. And whilst you reduce Azul's hand size, it is the Arm Press, right? Because there's a -40 reduction from
for the Defiance Vest. Okay, so it is, you're right.
And you just hope that Azul doesn't have a penny in hand if you're reducing the hand size at a later stage.
Yeah, maybe in this instance thinking, Pal Pad.
Coming back, there's 3 copies of Pal Pad in Azul's list as well. So there's going to be plenty of pennies to come.
Potential maximum of 10 pennies in total. That's a lot.
Not too shabby. But like we said, what's Azul actually achieving with this, outside of getting additional cards in hand, which we know Juho can deny at any point?
Making the game go on longer. That's what Azul's achieving.
The only thing Juho's waiting for on using this Iono is when he draws an Iron Crown. As soon as I draw an Iron Crown, that's when I'm Ionoing it straight back to the bottom. Yeah,
you want to save that so they can get it out of the hand when you need it. There's another Future Booster Energy Capsule for good measure. Could put that on the Iron Crown or the Iron Hands if you want to. Just boost up that damage even more. And yep, that's exactly what we see.
It's not much, but it's honest work, to be honest. This is looking great. I feel so content as Juho to just keep announcing attacks.
Yeah.
Keep the pressure on Azul. There's no reason to play any other of these cards out. Though Juho's trying to push on some pressure here.
Oh, okay.
Snorlax is currently sat at 200 hit points, thanks to the Bravery Charm.
Is now...
turn the pressure on with Amp.
Yeah, it is maybe...
looks like Juho is going for it.
Very interesting. So you were talking about how, you literally just said, didn't you, Joe? You could just keep attacking, but maybe Juho's thinking now's the time to switch gears, put down these I2 Iron Crown EX, maybe slam that Iono and start taking prizes.
Right. Well, yeah, you can, even without Ampy very much, you can just Arm Press this turn for the 200 that's required in the active, and hope that with still Boss's Orders and Prime Catcher in the deck somewhere, you can... interesting. So this is the strategy we were expecting. I was thinking Juho was going to wait to draw the Iron Crown. Instead, Juho's going to find them both and then send them to the bottom.
Yeah, this is really, really clever, because now I don't believe any of Azul's Disruption supporters shuffled the deck, do they? Or maybe Misfortune Sisters, I guess, would be the only one?
Yeah, that would be the only one.
Yeah. So with that, then Juho knows that he won't be drawing those Iron Crowns anytime soon, as long as Azul doesn't find the Misfortune Sisters.
And now you're putting Azul in this spot where they have to draw into Penny, because you're going to pressurize this Snorlax. If there isn't a Penny in hand, it can be amped for 2 prize cards, and that's terrifying.
Yeah, that's terrifying. And then not only that, but then if they're playing Penny, you know they're not playing Misfortune Sisters, so those Iron Crowns stay at the bottom of the deck. It's a really good catch-22 that Juho has put Azul into.
For now, at least, there is a penny in hand for Azul.
Okay.
Obviously, Pal padded a couple back in, so drew straight into them, thanks to Iona here.
Odds were good, I guess.
Yeah. But it's that constant question of what's Azul achieving with these pennies. He has to do them, but he's basically just playing them to then draw 3 again and rebuild the hand that's just been lost from an Iona last turn.
It goes back to what you were saying earlier, just buying some turns, maybe some more instant charge. You can find more resources, eventually find some kind of way to disrupt. But as long as Juho is putting this pressure on with the iron hands, you're just forced to penny it again and again, and you will run out eventually. Yeah,
it's the draw and attack strategy that's working out so nicely for Juho here. Thanks to Defiance Vest now, it's doing a little bit less damage.
But again, what does Azul do? Is there another penny in hand? There must be with a hand that big, right? You'd imagine.
Yeah, I think the only time you don't penny is when you have switch carts. If you can switch cart, that's when you can play a disruption supporter that turn.
That would have to be the way.
Combination that would make me not want to penny.
Yeah, but I do believe that there is only one switch cart in the list, I believe.
Look at this.
Oh, hold on.
With Mantine. There is Iron Crown in Juho's discard pile.
Finds a nest ball too. So yeah, we're going to see.
Tired of waiting and spamming the pennies. It's going to be a Born Ashore attack from Mantine, putting a basic Pokemon from either player's discard pile onto that player's bench. Obviously, Azul's going to be pointing at Juho's discard pile and is going to be choosing an Iron Crown EX.
Yeah, Juho was forced to discard one earlier. Of course, great to get it out of the way, but does leave you vulnerable to that Mantine. So there it is. Penny picks up the Snorlax. Mantine comes into the active, and we will see the Iron Crown come onto the bench. Well, I imagine so.
It has to be.
Yeah.
That's why the Mantine is in the deck.
Yep.
This does allow Juho to immediately take 2 additional prize cards because the Mantine will be amped up quite easily. And we know that Juho does have access to the Prime Catcher and the Boss's Orders still remaining in the deck.
Yeah, so definitely still in a good position for Juho, but there is a small opening now that Azul can exploit by potentially trying to trap this Iron Crown, and then maybe Juho doesn't find the out.
At this point, thanks to the Mantine getting into the mix, it's going to come down to whether the Prime Catcher specifically is going to be hit with Misfortune Sisters or Eri before it gets its value. That's the big thing we're going to be tracking in this game.
Yeah, and Azul is going to want to build up his hand enough to get to the point where he can pull off that disruption. But of course, it's going to be a little bit tricky to do so. The hand is it's okay right now.
There is an hand for Azul.
There is.
There's obviously no Pokemon with damage in play.
Oh, okay.
Pick up this Rotom.
But was the Prime Catcher in Juho's hand? I don't believe it was, but
well, I'm not sure. It's the time to Eri though. Let's see what Juho's working with. What can we discard here?
It's there. Oh,
there it is. The pink glowing Prime Catcher is going to get discarded from Azul.
That is a big, big find from the Eri there. And
also, just taking a look of what else is there.
A potentially game-winning Eri in that instance. Yeah, that's exactly what Azul needed to hit. Pulled that off, and with that, Azul is well within reach of actually being able to win this game 1.
We have to counter catcher up. Do we have counter catcher? No, we're having to tap the Rotom and hope it can tank.
Oh, no!
Oh, my goodness.
Wait, so with that, if there's enough Iron Crown down, you can just win right here, right?
Yeah, Arven can grab another Techno Radar. 2 more Iron Crowns still in the deck.
That's going to be... Wait, do you have a way to get rid of the Bravery Charm? Is there a Lost Vacuum? Because otherwise it won't be enough, right?
Let's see what's in the hand here. So far, the amp you very much. 2, 4, 6, 8. You're going up to 200, so you can arm press for 2 prize cards.
Yeah, I guess that's also pretty good, right? Then you just need 1 more knockout to win.
Pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
You still have, well, yeah, Boss's Orders doesn't unlock you at this stage. The Prime Catcher's gone. Maybe Azul has to find counter catcher on the spot to not lose out here.
Yeah, I don't see a vacuum, so yeah, maybe it will just have to be the arm press or the knockout. It's still a fine position to be in. You could even, slam the... Oh, no, you can't slam the Ino. You just played an Arven, but it's still pretty great, right? It's like Azul had that devastating play, but not able to follow it up with something.
It's going to be, well, Juho taking a moment to think.
Yeah, arm press.
Going to be the arm press for
like
2 prize cards. Gets over the Bravery Charmed Rotom from Azul here. Do we have an Arven to find counter catchers? There it is. Arven will be counter catchering Iron Crown. And I believe if Azul doesn't change his board state, I think Juho has no way of moving this Iron Crown EX.
No, that Prime Catcher being discarded off the Eri really sealing the deal there. There's no Silene or anything like that to recover the Prime Catcher, is there?
Prime Catcher's the only item card that says a switch effect in all of Juho's deck.
Oh boy, okay.
So if we're looking at this correctly, there should be nothing Juho can do now.
Yeah, and we mentioned earlier that maybe you can use the Psychic Energy to attack with the Iron Crown, that Twin Shotles attack doing 50 damage to 2 Pokemon, but in this instance, the Psychic's committed to the Miraidon.
Yeah, just early on, Juho just happened to have the only energy with Psychic in hand, so it was committed to the Miraidon early. And the only thing you could do would be twin shot or spam, and that's just not on the table anymore. And I think Juho's coming to that realization that the Eri has completely changed the game.
Yeah, and there it is. Juho just concedes.
Juho. What an unexpected twist. Azul timing an Eri to perfection and snagging a prime catcher out of Juho's hand and taking the game away.
We did say it could very well be the game-winning Eri, and so it was. Azul taking game one in, very quick fashion for a control deck.
My goodness, Juho felt pretty in a commanding spot, but Azul found the right opportunity to weave in Mantine as quickly as possible. And when that happened, you give yourself that small window of opportunity. I think Azul had his back against the wall for a little bit there, but he had to find a turn to not have to penny, and by giving your opponent the Mantine to take out, you then have no Pokemon that you have to penny up, of course, and it meant that you could clear up your board entirely and leave only block available, effectively making the boss's orders, the last sort of switching outs that Juho plays, useless.
Yep, just one turn needed, one turn of a Disruption Supporter, and what a turn it was, getting the Prime Catcher with the Eri. And in this second game, I'm sure Juho is going to want to make sure that every single supporter that Azul plays is a penny to avoid that happening again.
I don't think Juho even put a foot wrong.
No, not at
so
all.
Well in that game. Just Eri kind of caught him out, I suppose. That's the only thing that I can think of that was awkward there. As we're getting into this second game, Juho's forced Azul first, and he started with an Iron Hand, so that's already step one, not an Iron Crown. Azul, though, has started Block Clats, which is also ideal, and can fire off a Nest Ball to immediately find that Rotom V and start churning through cards in his own deck.
Pretty good stuff. Now, given that Juho did, in this instance started with the Miraidon rather than the Iron Hand, rather than the Iron Crown or the Iron Hands, and then now it's starting with the Iron Hands, do you change up your strategy slightly? Do you just, instead of going for a Miraidon powered up on the bench, do you maybe just start attaching to this Iron Hands EX and just wait until you have enough energy to attack?
You're right. I think it depends on what else is in hand. If you have to do some dodge and weave shenanigans of your Iron Crown, try and keep them out of harm's way for as long as possible, but I don't mind an attach every turn strategy. If you just have that many lightning energy in hand, why not?
Now, whilst this game is going on, of course, we do want to keep you up to date with what's going on in the rest of top 8. We can confirm that John Eng is one game up against Brent, and Hermione also did win game one as well. So those are our current top 8 updates. We will bring you more as they come.
We're going to see a turn one Erica's invitation from Azul. Oh, wow. Could have hit Prime Catcher if it wasn't Eri, but it is Erica's invitation. And it's, it does misfire, fortunately.
Just
turn two, I should say.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mirror of game one, right?
The Mimikyu comes into play for Azul quite early on here, seeing that Juho only has eyes for Iron Hands right now. Force Juho to put a Miraidon into play. And it is going to be 3 more cards from Rotom here.
Yep, there it is. Instant
wow,
charge.
look at that top deck of Iron Crown. That could have been devastating on the previous turn. Now it's going to be an attach pass from Juho.
Yeah, I wonder, does Azul do... Wait, there's another Erica's in hand. Does Azul go for it? I mean,
it's a one additional draw.
Yeah, it's...
You can't go for it, unless you find absolutely nothing else.
But there's an Arvin, right? And that's at this point way more important. Can get a tool and an item from the deck. And unlike in the last game, important to note that Hero's Cape is in the deck, so Azul will have access to it, and that is such an important resource for control.
We're going to see second Pokegear coming in from Azul, and there is the Eri, and we know that there's Prime Catcher. We saw it in the Erica's invitation, so we can straight away once again take the Prime Catcher out of the mix for Juho. This is monstrous stuff from Azul.
Is this going to be the game-winning Eri again? I mean, the fact that it's literally the only card that lets you switch your active is so devastating to lose that.
My goodness. The early Eri with the guarantee of getting rid of Prime Catcher, so tempting. But does Azul take a more cautious approach? If you can use Arvin, you can gain hit points on the Snorlax, so it's not KO'd by an arm press.
Yeah, but they're going to go for it.
Let's just Eri.
I think Azul recognizes just how it's too valuable to pass up this opportunity.
Yeah, I don't think you're that concerned by giving up a single prize here for Juho. The arm press is fine, but he's now also seen that there's an Iron Crown in Juho's hand as well. Don't forget, he's gained that information back, so he could once again look to use Erica's invitation now. Yeah,
I think Azul, recognizing that, given that the Eri on the Prime Catcher literally just won the game outright, just going for that now, and like you said, Joe, getting that information that the Iron Crown is there as well, so maybe even next turn you can just go for an Erica's invitation, especially because Juho did not shuffle his hand, so yeah, just going to slam that straight away.
Give me that Iron Crown EX. Let me see the rest, because I also need that info. Juho's really not working with a lot. Well, yeah, I mean, you can Capsule and Boss to get around a Snorlax that gets benched.
I mean,
but now you can just gain hit points on this Mimikyu if you want to.
Yeah, pretty much the only difference here.
Actually, you probably need to Hero Escape Rotom here. Because you know your opponent's holding Future Capsules and Boss. And you're worried about Iron Hands taking out Rotom here.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, any attachment to the Mimikyu.
It's a bit of an interesting one. Obviously, this is a very similar situation to Game 1. It's sort of happening much earlier, but Juho isn't giving up yet. There is still the Psychic Energy in deck. There is still the Boss's Orders, as you mentioned, can bring up something that isn't Snorlax.
Gonna swing the Rotom around to draw 3 additional cards, but this might open the window for Juho to actually take a 2-prize KO here, taking out the Rotom. You've got a 20 damage buff from Iron Hand. Well, I suppose your concern is if you leave just Mimikyu, Azul doesn't really have to play anything else until he's forced down by a Miraidon.
Yeah, so there's Technoradar. Actually going to discard that Electric Generator. The Psychic Energy is in deck, so Juho does have a means of attacking with this Iron Crown EX, the Twin Shotels. I do believe it's damage, not damage counters, right? So it does hit, say if something was Psychic active in the active week, it would actually hit for that double damage.
Yep, it is going to be placing, oh sorry, it goes through all effects. So it is damage, but it goes through all effects.
Yeah, that was it.
Of your opponent's Pokemon, so it will circumvent Mimikyu's ability, the Safeguard ability.
Maybe that's why Azul went for the Hero Escape on the Mimikyu to make it more tankable against a Iron Crown if Juho decides to go for loading it up and doing the Twin Shotels.
Yeah, I gotta feel like taking out Rotom's tempting for Juho, but maybe it's a trap from Azul. Because if the Rotom's taken out of play, then eventually this Mimikyu can get pennied up and you can leave just Snorlax, and that's how he won Game 1. If there's only Snorlax in play, you can just counter-catcher at any point and take an Iron Crown that's already in play to deal with it.
Yeah, and Juho has no way of getting this Iron Crown out of play. It has been Erika's invitation, and now there is no way to pick it up. There's no Penny, there's no Professor Turo scenario, nothing like that. That Iron Crown is stuck on the field.
I think the only solution is that you save Psych Energy to shuttle down Mimikyu over and over again.
Yeah.
And hope that there's something goes awry with the Silene loop if Azul takes the game that long.
Okay,
that would be the only out that you have.
I've just had a quick update. I guess Game 2 is very short. Hermione has just won Game 2 in very quick fashion and will be proceeding to top 4. So Hermione defeats Stian Nielsen in top 8 to make it to top 4. So we have one Lost Zone Roaring Moon Iron Hands in top 8, or top 4 rather.
Yeah, thanks for the update. I know Ross is out there on the floor keeping an eye on all of the games, which is fantastic for us. Juho is going to go for this Boss's Order strategy. Obviously, at the moment, you're doing 180 damage thanks to the damage buff. Can't actually KO this Rotom, so you're just going to punch into it instead. Short.
I guess next turn, if you have an energy, you can go for the Ampy very much. Free prizes, pretty tasty.
Azul has a massive hand. I didn't quite see a penny, though. Maybe there's just too many cards in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit hard to see when the hand is that bulky,
zooming around.
What's bigger, the hand or the deck right now?
Interesting. That is the Boss's Orders played, though, from Juho. It's a crucial resource that wasn't spent to get around block, which means you essentially don't get around block for the remainder of the game because the Prime Catch has been hit with Airy and Boss's Orders has been played. So now, block can't be stopped as long as they're re-established at some point.
So then that means if this Iron Crown goes back into the active, Juho only has Psychic Energy to try and do something to get around a Snorlax. But, I mean, 50 damage to 2 Pokemon is great, but I don't think it's going to be enough.
No, it has to be some wild consecutive tails from like a Silene loop whiffing on Pal Pads over and over again from being a thing.
Yeah.
Azul double checking that shuttles can indeed get around Mimikyu.
And and of course the damage to the active would also be boosted by the future boost energy capsule.
We see a payment of retreat from Rotom V here.
There it is.
Catching up this Iron Crown. If all things go to plan, that's going to be stuck for a long time.
Yeah. So now let's make it abundantly clear. There is only one out left to Juho here. We've looked here, looking at the entire deck and all the cards available. It is just power up this Iron Crown, find the Psychic Energy, announce Twin Shotels, and hope for the best.
It's going to be a clean 7 cards from Professor's research after attaching a Lightning Energy to the active. There's also 2 colorless in the attack cost of this Iron Crown, so it's going to be a couple turns away regardless of what happens here.
Yeah. There is the Psychic Energy in hand, found it off the research.
No matter what, you were always going to be giving Azul a lot of time. As soon as the countercatcher was played, we know that it's going to be a couple turns for Azul to really fix his board, I think. He's done a great job of tanking hits with multiple Pokemon. Let's see what supporter Azul wants to go for. He's hit the big item card already. Is there a reason to go for Erica's? It's essentially a free turn if you hit another Iron Crown, because there's an energy attachment committed to a different one here.
I guess you go for it if there's no better supporter to go for. You know,
I think we're still looking for Penny. I just can't see it in the hand.
It's... But I guess also if you know Juho's list, you know that you don't need to... Oh, no, I guess the twin Shotles, right? That kind of makes it a little bit more urgent.
Sort of ticking clock right now. This is another cool play that Azul can make. There is a Pidgeot V in the deck list. That flips the Forest Hill Stone. Maybe now is time to Penny. Yep, absolutely is. Penny, the search for Azul here. The Pidgeot's going to fly back into the deck thanks to its own ability, the Vanishing Wings, of course. And then we're going to see this Rotom pick up as well.
Yeah. Oh, a couple more updates from top 8. John Eng wins 2-0 and will advance to top 4. And in the Tord against Faris game, Tord went control and won game 1 against Faris. So Tord is 1 up against Faris right now.
Loving these updates from Ross. Appreciate it. The healthy Rotom is coming back into play, so Azul can continue to grow that hand size and draw into more critical resources. Be so disheartening for Juho to attach another energy. Oh, he's committed the Psychic Energy as well.
Yeah, he has.
Could commit the Lightning Energy and then had more to attach throughout the game. It's just going to go for Iono here.
This means...
The fact that it comes alongside Iono is the only saving grace.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because it makes it harder for Azul to Eric as a different Iron Crown.
But then that means...
It is committed.
If at any point Juho has an Iron Crown and Azul hits it with the Erica's Invitation, that is it.
Correct. Let's see the fresh hand Azul's been dealt.
Yep.
Well, I don't see much, but he could use Eri just to scout the situation. Can Nestball out more Snorlax here quite happily. Yep, another Snorlax is going to find its way into play. I don't think there's any downside here with Boss's Orders and Prime Catcher already spent.
No, definitely not. Azul knows that Juho's out are growing slimmer and slimmer. All of them are either played or on the board, and the door is really closing for Juho to make a comeback here. He's doing his absolute best with what he's been given, but this actually, I will be honest, this matchup has ended up a little bit more like lopsided than I thought it would be. I mean, I guess it's not really
hitting, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't hit. It's a completely different story.
Yeah. But it's just that Azul just timing the Eri exactly at the right moment both times.
He's found the windows to really capitalize, and there aren't many windows of opportunity in this matchup.
No, there really aren't. But Azul capitalizing on that perfectly. Here comes a Pokegear, does find a Penny, Misfortune Sisters for good measure, and another Arven gonna grab that Penny straight away. It's wanting to make sure that this Iron Crown can't do enough damage to actually just take enough prizes to win sneakily. Yeah,
even though Twin Shuttles can begin pressurizing, as long as you can continue to find Penny, it's not going to be a big problem. Azul going to have a look, gain some information, season Iron Hands there for Juho as well, which is important because that has a huge attack and retreat cost. That could be a great way to gain additional turns.
Gain additional turns. It isn't quite game winning like it would be on the Iron Crown, but it's certainly a good time buyer. Oh, but there is another Techno Radar though drawn for turn.
Finally, the third energy on Iron Crown, so we can begin to see some twin shuttles here. 70 damage to the active thanks to the Future Booster Energy Capsule, as well as 50 damage to a benched Snorlax. Pretty much all Juho can muster here.
Yeah, and of course the one benefit of the Iron Crown attacking is that you can, because you do damage, you do two different things. It makes it a little bit more awkward to penny chain, because you can only penny one thing at a time, and so it means that there will be at least something left over with damage on it.
Yeah, the hope is maybe Defiance Vest can undo a lot of this twin shuttle damage as well, or just hit point buffing tools. These are things that you can try and do to slowly penny stuff up as you go. That's the thing, the most heavily damaged Snorlax, it could be pennied up now, and maybe you'd never have to put it back into play, for example.
And would work out well. Palpad for good measure. Is that, getting back in Erica's Invitation?
Makes a lot of sense, because there are more Iron Crown that you can find. As soon as you find that second Iron Crown during the game, it will be game over.
Yeah. It is so funny because you never want to sort of preemptively also like definitively say, oh, if you do this, the game is over. But it is. Like,
block is literally the brick wall at this stage. You cannot pass this chunky Snorlax. And if another Iron Crown gets trapped, that'll be it. It's just Azul having to navigate as carefully as possible to not allow this. Allow Juho any prize cards, really. He has a lovely buffer right now. Yeah,
instant charge one more time. Azul's hand absolutely ginormous. Juho barely giving just a bit of a glance at the hand. Barely even looked at it at first, but I think it's just going to be another twin shuttles, and it's going to be announcing that until the Miltanks come home.
It's going to be the same Snorlax that gets targeted here, going up to 140 damage on the active Snorlax. Just 10 away, agonizingly close, especially when you've seen Azul pick up a penny already. from Pokegear on a previous turn.
Yep. There it is. Beautifully healing off, 10 short of a knockout, and now safely can... Oh, wait, no, hold on. If you bring up this one, you can actually KO it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind you taking like a prize here or there, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he can have one as a treat.
Yeah. At the same, like, Azul is still in that situation where he's trying to buy time to find that game-winning play, and that involves the Erica's invitation.
Yeah, just wait until, Juho has... I guess forced to have a turn where there's an Iron Crown in hand that he can't get rid of. And I don't know, there's not much you can do from your end to do that, but maybe if you, disrupt the deck enough with other supporters, perhaps.
We get to see Juho take at least one more prize. Might be the last time we see his prize cam in action.
Was it the heavy baton that he took? I
heavy baton not going to be too handy.
No, not in this matchup.
Mimikyu's getting into the mix as well now. That can actually allow Juho to retreat this Iron Crown at some point.
Yes. Oh, there's the Ericas.
Unless Azul has other plans here.
Do you go for the Ericas now? I mean, there are 2 copies. Maybe you can...
You have to combine the Ericas with block, though, surely.
Oh, right, yes, of course. But, so you have to... I mean, you can...
You can always retreat this Mimikyu, of course.
Yeah, it does have a retreat cost of just 1. The Artisan can find another Snorlax to put it down just to make sure you have a fresh copy available to you.
Azul may be interested in recovering that Hero's Cape for Snorlaxes as well.
Yeah, that's true. So you could penny to pick that up and get that back in your hand.
Essentially blocking shuttles in that regard just by buffing up an additional 100. That's still more demoralizing for Juho.
Because the Mimikyu is not really relevant here anymore as a blocking threat because, as you already mentioned, Joe, the Twin Shuttles does punch through it. So at this point, it's not doing any kind of meaningful blocking. Oh, it's just a Silene coming in now. Okay.
Yeah. Possibly putting just some pennies on top with some heads flips here. We do get 1 heads. And if you, well, it's going to be Palpad. Making sure that you're not getting yourself into deck out range is still important here.
Yeah, maybe getting the 1 for 2 value there. 1 heads, but getting 2 supporters back. And has a Palpad in hand too. Oh, just going to get the Silene back and another penny.
Yeah, diligent play from Azul to just make sure that that penny loop is still available. You have those flips, but also another Palpad back into the deck now as well via the Silene itself, so that you're giving yourself multiple shots to recover Silene, have another go. Yep. As soon as Silene hits 1 heads, then it gets a Palpad back, then it gives you a bit more of a buffer once again.
Yes, so Palpad coming in. Another quick flick through the discard pile. Azul knows that victory is very much in his grasp. He is in the driver's seat here. He does not want to potentially throw anything away by making a misplay. This Snorlax needs to come into the active, really, because, of course, if it doesn't, then you do have the ability for Juho to retreat and start attacking. But it's... Oh, wait, no, just going to go for the instant charge.
Yeah, I think it's still safe enough. It's a Hero's Caped Mimikyu, so its hit points are just so large that it can tank a Shuttles quite happily.
Yeah, I guess so, and we already know that Juho's out of Gusting cards as well, so it's not like... So it's basically either attack with the Iron Crown, which means that essentially the Mimikyu is a pseudo-block Snorlax at that point.
Yeah. Shuttles can go anywhere, so whatever active Pokemon's not that big of a deal. The block is obviously helpful. But again, with Psych Energy now committed, maybe baiting other Pokemon into play is reasonable. Just make Juho make a mistake. Could be something that's coming into Azul's consideration now, because he is leaking a little bit of damage. We are seeing a Techno Radar. That's going to get rid of him and Ride-On, which from Azul's perspective means he probably shouldn't Ericas for a while.
No.
Because the first thing you'd want to get rid of would be an Iron Crown.
Yeah, so if that's not being discarded, it's a pretty, again, unless it's a monster bluff, it's a pretty good sign that Juho does not have an Iron Crown in the hand.
Does have an Iron Hand still there, though. Azul knew that from a few turns back.
Yep. Twin Shuttles coming in again. 50 to the bench, 70 to this active Mimikyu. And Azul has that Ericas is so tempting right out the front. Actually does decide to fire it off now, and yeah, as you mentioned, Joe, can bring up the Iron Hands, and that will buy a good chunk of turns.
Goes for the nice artwork. No, goes for the the half-art Iron Hands. He's going to take a look at what his opponent's working with.
There's a tough decision between the two, obviously. Yeah.
Azul will have to retreat out of this Mimikyu if he wants to trap the Iron Hands, though. And I imagine that's going to be the case with another block Snorlax getting into the mix. Yep, it will be a retreat of this Mimikyu. Straight into the block Snorlax. And Iron Hands Can attack, but it's multiple attachments away. And this can be a great way for Azul to buy enough turns to pretty much penny up everything he doesn't need.
Yeah, and this is the way that you deny the prizes from now on as well, of course, because, you know, if were it not for that Erica's invitation, then at this point Juho could twin shuttles again, actually get a KO on the bench Snorlax, but now that opportunity no longer offered as the Snorlax comes into the active and the Iron Hands can't retreat anymore. He's going to go for that Arven, though, finds the Ancient Booster, or the Future Booster Engine Capture, rather, and maybe... I mean, yeah, you go for a generator perhaps, but it doesn't feel great. You rather build up these energies in the hand to attach to the active, surely.
Yeah, maybe just taking an item out the deck so that you can draw into more basic energy. Yeah. I think that's really all we're looking for, because none of the items are all that handy at this stage.
Oh, there's a Gusting card.
Well, a situational Gusting card, yes. Unfortunately. Yeah,
and about as useful in this matchup as... well, nothing. I was trying to go for a pun there, I couldn't think of one, so I went for
Teapot is a classic.
Teapot, yeah, exactly.
It's going to be an instant charge from Azul, who's now reacquired that Hero's Cape, and it's going to be landing onto a Snorlax. As we see another attachment for Juho, getting tantalizingly close to attacking with this Iron Hands. But we know, and Azul knows, that there's another Iron Hands that's still trapped in Juho's hand, I believe. So I guess you could even see another Erica's next turn, and then you just do the same thing again. But Juho is going to deny that with an Iono. Definitely a smart play. When you've seen Azul with such a large hand size, definitely makes sense here.
But isn't there now a small risk of drawing the Iron Crown?
There is. Yeah. I'm not saying it's great. It's what you have to do.
Yeah, desperate times call for desperate measures. There's, okay, not another Iron Crown, but there is another Iron Hand. So if Azul does find another Erica's invitation, can buy even more turns before Juho can attack again.
Yep, it is just going to be a pass over to Azul. Who finds a penny. That's not a bad support to play. I think the only one available, unless you want to play a Poké Gear. You could also improve your odds because there are a number of Power Pad in the hand currently. You could really improve your odds of finding any specific supporter you're after by using these before the Poké Gear.
Yeah, so Power Pad coming in. And yeah, I think here is all recognizing there is maybe a small chance of me just winning the game straight away. And even if I don't get that, I get the hand knowledge. So why not go for the Ericas, see what Juho is working with. Maybe I can hit something and just win outright.
Yeah, would be a massive pickup for Azul. That's why we see the Power Pad. Erica's invitation would be a huge hit here. There is another Iron Hands waiting there for Azul to choose.
Oh, there it is.
Straight away. We know that Erica's invitation was the choice.
Doesn't even look at the rest of the Poké cards.
It's another Iron Hands EX.
Wow.
Demoralizing for Juho. Yeah. To see another huge attack costing Pokemon forced into the active.
Yeah, now it's a special illustration rare one. It wasn't a choice in that instance.
It's found its way onto the board eventually.
Yeah. I mean, you had to work through like a lot of walls, right? Punching through before you get there. Had a hell of a journey.
I think Juho's had enough of hearing about walls over the last hour.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. It's an attach pass straight back over to Azul, I think.
Yep, and a draw pass. Oh no, that was just the attach pass there. But Hisuian Heavy Ball going to take another look at the prizes.
Mimikyu in there, but I don't think Azul necessarily needs too much here. Mimikyu's coming back into the action just to have access to the card, I suppose.
It does feel like one of those situations where it's only a matter of time. Even if, you don't instantly win by bringing up the Iron Crown, just bringing up these Iron Hands over and over again, eventually Juho has to commit so many energy, and eventually Juho will draw an Iron Crown, and Azul will be able to bring it up. There's really not a whole lot that Juho can do in this situation other than sort of cross his fingers and pray. Yeah,
Azul's doing all the right actions to just buy as much time as possible, to have as many attempts of this Erica's as possible, because we've said a few times, there's no guarantee that you're going to hit what you want to hit, and already we've had a few whiffs almost from this Erica. So when you eventually buy yourself so many turns, you then have so many bites at the cherry to actually find an Iron Crown.
Yeah, and so many bites at the cherry with a combination, of course, of the Silene with the Power Pad. You're just drawing cards for instant charge as well. You have so many, different chances to make those attempts. And actually, for good measure, going to play a Super Rod too. Going to get back, looks like a Snorlax of Fire Energy. Because, I mean, of course, the other way this deck can win is, of course, by just milling out with Chi-Yu. So get that Fire Energy back. That could be a way to end off the game as long as, you know that your opponent is in a position where they can't do anything else.
Yeah, it speeds up the process, and again, with Juho still on 4 prize cards remaining, if Azul wants to, he could just go for like a man-time play and just really speed up the win condition. But I think at the moment, there's no reason to not continue just churning through with the Erica's strategy.
No, absolutely not. So Super Rod gets played, and well, the instant charge not been used yet, but yeah, just sort of untapping it there, as it were. But then it's probably going to be instant charge, and then back to Juho, who really just wants energy at this point. What's he draw? Wait, was that an Iron Crown?
Oof.
Yeah, it was.
There's an Iron Crown lingering in that hand.
Uh-oh.
Oh, and no attachment either. Azul knows he's at least bought a turn, so it's unlikely there's going to be an Erica's this turn, because you don't really have to.
No, I guess not, but again, we'll be taking...
Fortune Sisters seems reasonable here. Arven just to continue to thin the deck, as well as this Artisan being played.
This is the danger zone for Juho. The Iron Crown is in the hand. As long as Azul can find the Erica's Invitation before Juho can shuffle or discard that Iron Crown away, Azul will take the game and will be moving on to top 4.
Already a game up with half an hour left on the clock. Has to make sure not making any mistakes now. He's been so diligent up to this point, trying to be as safe as possible. Only given up 2 prize cards all game here. So it's a little bit more risky in game number 1, but he seems in complete control of the second one.
Yeah, so Arven, for good measure, grabs the Earthen Vessel and the Forest Seal. No, not the Forest Seal Stone. Going to grab that Defiance Vest instead. Oh, it's Juho saying...
I think Juho just asking, are you going back in with the Vessel or not? So you're just taking it out of the deck.
Yeah, but no,
just
not
some confirmation there.
Yeah, so not in this instance, but yeah, Defiance Vest going on the Snorlax, so even if somehow the Iron Crown with the energy came back into the active, then doing even less damage. Another Defiance Vest for good measure as well.
I think it's all just so aware of Iono in Juho's deck, and that's really the only thing that can hurt him at this stage.
Yep.
As we see another draw pass immediately.
Juho even resigned to like not looking in his hand, just looks at the card, puts it down pass. He knows that his fate is almost outside of his hands at this point. He is just waiting to see what Azul does.
Azul's looking at Mantine Energy Penny and thinking, should I just speed this up a bit and get a crown into the mix, or should I just keep playing the patient game and keep pal-padding back Erica's?
Yeah, is there any way that you can maybe look at the hand and then Erica's, or is Erica's the only hand reveal card that is in play currently? I can't quite remember.
I'm not too sure. Azul's under just no pressure at the moment.
Yeah.
He's free to just keep cycling through the deck. Has drawn back into Silene as well. That's a great card to just keep flipping coins with that. Recover pal pads and pal pads and pal pads, essentially.
Oh, Juho just drew a research, though.
Okay, well, it's something.
Yep.
It's going to get you discarding that Iron Crown that's been lingering in the hand where you don't want it. And it means, hopefully, we can draw into some basic energy at last.
Although, now this does mean Iron Crown in a discard pile over 2 turns. You can use the Mantine, bring it out, and then, as long as you can bring it up, the game is once again over. It's not ideal, but nothing in this game has been ideal for you.
Playing around both Mantine and Erica, it feels like Mantine's the lesser of 2 evils, so that's why we are going to see the Professor's Research. We finally find some basic energy.
Yeah,
that's something.
Yep. Find a Mew as well. Yes, basic energy, like you said.
Is another Iron Crown, an Iron Hands as well. I think it might be the 4th Iron Hands there. My goodness.
Yeah. Pass after the attachment.
There's 15 energy in Juho's deck. So there might even be a point where Juho can't actually even attack with an Iron Hands if a 4th one was to be put into play. Yeah,
I mean, 15 energy is a lot, but it can't power up every single...
10 committed to the board at the moment, I think.
Yeah, that's brutal, but it looks like Azul is eyeing up the combo. The Fire Energy is there, the Mantine is there, going to pal pad as well, just to get some more pennies back into the deck, because over these next 2 turns, all it takes is the Iron Crown coming onto the bench, and just any kind of gusting card will work to bring up this Iron Crown, and that will seal the deal.
Here we go, Azul's MVP, the Mantine, as we pick up the hero-caped Snorlax, put it immediately back into play, and it's going to be that Born Ashore. There's the guaranteed Iron Crown there for him.
Yeah, and of course, with access to the Pidgeot V as well, Azul will never run out of cards in deck, so it doesn't even need to use the Chi-Yu to win. Just with that guaranteed can never deck out, then Juho knows that the game is over. There's literally nothing he can do at this point.
I mean, the Border Shore only puts a Pokemon to the bench, so if Juho can use Iono, perhaps, then maybe there's a window of opportunity where Azul can't find Countercatcher. That's why Azul's been trying to thin out cards as much as possible. That's why we're seeing the vessels and whatnot to discard useless cards. Yeah, just to try to thin out down all these tools. All of these cards are being taken out of the game effectively from Azul. Yeah,
once again, the theme of this tournament, trying to close as many tiny avenues as possible that there might be for your opponent. I'm actually going to, it's going to bring out the Miraidon, interestingly enough.
Well, Miraidon can prod. Maybe just worried about Twin Shottles getting a cumulative value if there just happen to be a second Psych Energy in the deck. Obviously, we have Caster Vision. We know there's only one Psychic in the list.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, we don't. These players don't have access to each other's list before the game. Obviously, they might have some idea based on what they've seen, but it's not like you have the full 60 in front of you. It's a closed deck list tournament. So yeah, with that in mind, maybe Azul playing around, like you said, Joe, just a potential Psychic Energy in case there is more than one.
Yeah, Azul's welcomed, and wow, Juho does have Iono, so it might get a little bit dicey here.
Okay.
He's guaranteed to take 2 prizes, can now retreat the active. Has got 4 energy to amp you very much through this Mantine. And now it's going to be down to Azul to find a counter catcher.
Is this the opening that Juho needed?
Or Arven, of course. That's also an out for Azul here.
Yeah, yeah. Amp you very much.
Amp you very much. 2 prize cards taken for Juho. Now 2 prize cards remain for Juho. And a counter catcher's off the top. It's a massive play from Azul. He's set this up with the Mantine on the previous turn. Miraidon can attack, but with just a spam of pennies, especially with this Rotom finding its way back into the hand this turn.
Yep.
Juho can slowly poke away at some Snorlax.
But 40 damage a turn, or even like 60 at most, ain't really doing it, let's be honest.
But we have Iron Crown as well, buffing that damage. It's going to be a 20 damage a turn poke.
Even after the Defiance Fest, yeah.
It's slow. We're sitting through it.
Yeah.
You're here for the ride. Community voted for this one.
Yep.
It actually has been a fantastic game.
Yeah, it generally has.
I don't want to begrudge anyone with that.
I was fully expecting you have no one to blame but yourselves moment from you, Joe, gotta be honest. Like, that was the tone that I was sensing.
Oh, Snorlax.
But, I mean, all this does is go to show once again just what a absolutely stunning choice this was for this tournament from Azul.
Yep, it's going to be that peak accelerate from Miraidon. 40 damage thanks to the base damage, plus the 40 from 2 Iron Crown in play, minus the 40 from Defiance Vest that Azul's slapped on earlier on.
But wait, with that extra Iron Crown down now, again, surely it's just, if you have any Gusting card, game's over.
It's time for that one. Maybe that gets into the active
Yeah, there
now.
it is.
I wonder if Juho will resign himself at this stage.
Yeah, it's he was always gesturing towards it. Yeah, no,
Juho knows. He understands that with Iron Crown forced into the active position, he can't deal damage for the remainder of the game. Azul blocking the path to top 4 and making it there himself.
Wow, I want to say a phenomenal series, because I mean it was. Let's be honest. Although it looked like not much happened, there was a masterful display of skill from both sides there. Juho doing everything he could, to try and make the best of what could be a tough matchup. But just in both instances, like in both games, the game-winning play went right back in the beginning of Game 2, midway through Game 1. Eri hitting Prime Catcher.
Yeah, and I really like firing off these sorts of disruptive supporters so early, because even if you're not hitting these cards, obviously in this case Azul did, and it was fantastic, but you're seeing your opponent's hand. You can then identify what the best supporter for the next turn is. That's kind of the key identifier for this Snorlax control deck, because all of your power cards, they're all supporters. So cherry picking the right one every single turn, thanks to knowing what your opponent's working with, is so important. In Game 1, it was tense. Eri was clutch.
Yep.
And Azul took a risk with Mantine to make it happen, but he got there. And in Game 2, it was a much safer situation thanks to the early Prime Catcher hit from the Eri.
Yeah, really great series. Of course,